On this episode of the Vazquez Report, we're going to cover two new developments with Charlie Kirk. One is that there is a new legislation that is going to be passed in memory of Charlie Kirk. And the second one is that the killer may have been involved in a relationship with a transgender. All this and more on this episode of the Vazquez Report. It happens right here. For those of you who are unaware about the Smith-Mundt Act of 1946, it was an act that prohibited the use of propaganda in our media. It saw it as a threat to national security. However, in 2012, then President Barack Obama, repealed it and allowed news outlets to use propaganda as entertainment. Now there's consideration of bringing back the 1946 Smith-Mundt Act and calling it the Charlie Kirk Act to prevent such propaganda and hateful speech to be used as a weapon to radicalize the left. Let's see what Ellie Mae had to say with proposing this change after her video was reposted by President Trump on Truth Social.
President Trump, as a supporter who voted for you 3 times, I am hoping and praying that you will revisit what Barack Obama and Joe Biden got rid of back in 2013, which is the Smith-Mundt Act, which held news corporations accountable for lying to the American people and spreading propaganda instead of truth. I think instead of bringing it back as a Smith-Mundt Act, you name it the Charlie Kirk Act, you make it a law, and you make it damn near impossible for these people to continue to lie to the American public, which has brought chaos, hatred, division, and anarchy all across this country. Fines out the ass, which will damn near bankrupt their companies should they lie to the American people ever again. They can have their opinions, that's fine. They need to state that it is their opinion and that it is not a fact. Because of their constant lies, a man lost his life over it. Because of the constant hateful rhetoric of calling him a fascist and a Nazi and a white supremacist and a bigot, the same thing that they called you, this man is dead. I think this would be a great legacy for him to have a law named after him to force journalists to finally start telling the truth and having the integrity that they have lacked for over a decade. I hope that this gets to you. I hope that you think about it and that you pass it into law. Because we are on a dangerous path right now with the constant lies and the propaganda. And that doesn't end just at news journalists. It needs to go to content creators who consistently spread lies and propaganda and half-truths across the internet.
I 100% agree with this proposition. The Smith-Mundt Act should be brought back and be renamed the Charlie Kirk Act to prevent these journalists and these content creators from spreading propaganda and hateful speech that ultimately led to the death or assassination of Charlie Kirk. President Trump heard her outcry and actually posted her on Truth Social. So the thinking is that this will be passed into law at some point in the near future. Which leads us to our next story. The alleged killer of Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson, was allegedly involved in a romantic relationship with a transgender, according to FBI sources that talked to Fox News Digital. Let's hear what the Fox News had to say on the subject.
A Fox News alert. FBI sources tell Fox News Digital that the man charged with assassinating Charlie Kirk was living with a transgender partner. Bureau officials confirmed that Tyler Robinson was in a romantic relationship with someone transitioning from male to female. They say that individual is fully cooperating with their investigation, claims to have had no idea of Robinson's plans, and is not currently accused of any criminal activity.
The plot thickens on the assassin of Charlie Kirk. It appears that he was allegedly involved in a romantic relationship with a transgender person, transitioning from a male to a female. That person is said to be fully cooperating with the FBI with respect to the investigation of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I'd like to know your thoughts and perspective on if the anti-LGBTQ rhetoric that supposedly Charlie Kirk exhibited during his many appearances at college campuses may have been a contributing factor to radicalizing Tyler Robinson into killing Charlie Kirk. Let me know your thoughts and perspective in the comment section below. Which then leads us to our next story. The courageousness of the widow of Charlie Kirk and her exhibiting the strength and faith in God that is needed in order for her to survive this horrible tragedy. Let's hear what she said after her husband and the father of her children left this earth.
Evildoers responsible for my husband's assassination have no idea what they have done. They killed Charlie because he preached a message of patriotism, faith, and of God's merciful love. But they should all know this. If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country and this world. You have no idea. You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry. To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. It will not die. All of us will refuse to let that happen. No one will ever forget my husband's name, and I will make sure of it.
I think it's very encouraging and pretty awesome, actually, that his widow will carry on his legacy and his name after his passing and after his tragic assassination at Utah Valley University. I'd like to know your thoughts and perspective on how you feel about Charlie Kirk's widow and the strength she's exhibiting during this tragic time and a trying time for their family. Which leads us to the final story, and that is the legacy that Charlie Kirk left behind is impacting America nationwide. Let's take a look at all the college football campuses and college football teams that are kneeling in prayer in commemoration of Charlie Kirk. After that, we'll see worldwide his impact when we get a chance to look at Britain and South Korea also commemorating the legend of Charlie Kirk and the legacy that will live on even after his passing. I think it's amazing and very encouraging that the will of the many has not been diminished by the will of the few, and that many college campuses and many college football teams are showing everyone how much they care about Charlie Kirk and his family. Now let's see how Britain and South Korea are also standing up for the memory of Charlie Kirk. Now let's recap. First, how do you feel about the fact that the Smith-Mundt Act of 1946 may be brought back into law and renamed the Charlie Kirk Act to prevent the mainstream media from using propaganda and force them back into truthful journalism? Secondly, how do you feel about Charlie Kirk's assassin, Robinson, potentially being in a relationship, a romantic relationship with a transgender male who is transitioning from a male to a female? Thirdly, how do you feel about Charlie Kirk's widow, Erika Kirk, and her comments and her speech after losing her husband and the father of her children, and the strength that she showed during that speech. And finally, how do you feel about the college football campuses that knelt in prayer in commemoration of Charlie Kirk and his legacy? And the final question, how do you feel about Britain and South Korea also chanting Charlie's name and saying that we are Charlie Kirk, or chanting Charlie in memory of him? I'd like to know your thoughts and perspective on all that we've covered throughout this episode in the comment section below. My name is Angel. This has been the Vazquez Report. Until next time.